and roll fantasy.
You know what? I was just telling my daughter about this the other day. Bad Company.
Yes.
One of the fucking biggest bands of the 70s. And Paul Rogers left or whatever, and they kept playing, and they played with any fucking musicians they could find, and they destroyed their fucking brand in the 80s.
Yeah, but Holy Water was a good album. The one
they had a hit, but it just shows you what you can do. You can ruin something, man. The best thing that happened to the Beatles is they broke up and never got back together.
Yeah, no, see, that's because they're different than AC/DC. So AC/DC found the right singer for them, right?
Right.
When you've had Paul Rogers, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't just throw anybody, random dude in there, right? Paul Rogers is a next level singer.
Now, I definitely think he is, but I think Bon Scott, maybe not a next level singer, but definitely a next level entertainer.
Oh, next level entertainer and performer. I loved Bon Scott, but Brian Johnson did a hell of a job replacing him, right?
He did, but it wasn't the same thing. But the thing is it's like this. Bon Scott is the ultimate frontman. AC/DC never recovered from him not being in the band. But Back in Black is the best AC/DC song ever made.
Oh,
in my opinion.
Oh, that's a great album. I mean, in my opinion, Riff Raff is the greatest AC/DC song ever made. But for those about to rock, we salute you. I think that's the hardest album AC/DC ever made, right?
It's a good one.
And you couldn't, as far as how crunchy it is and the tone of the guitars and stuff like that, you wouldn't have made that album with Bon Scott, right? So, no. And they went from Plexi to JCM 800 on that album. You can hear it. You know what I'm saying? And it's blistering, and they never was that hard again, right? And they're playing JTM 45s and old Plexi, so they only did that one time, and it was bone crunching. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. And they really just kept making the same album after that over and over.
I know. Switch. Yeah.
Hey, this is Kyle Golick of the Smacking Off the Podcast. I'm at the Basketball Hall of Fame. You don't need to come to Springfield, Massachusetts. We got our own Hall of Fame analyst in Dr. Balls.
Dr. Balls is a presentation of Smacking Off the Podcast.
Dr. Balls, the state of college hoops.
Landon, you know how good is this team that they've won 24 games? I don't know anything about them.
They just played in a shit conference. I mean,
they're
more 24 point favorites.
Oh yeah.
Fun fact though about Texas A&M Corpus Christi, their college is on an island out in Texas, Corpus Christi Island. That's why they actually, you can Google it. It's a whole. Their college is literally on an island.
Yeah, Browns. Excuse me, close to Brownsville, so on and so forth. Excuse me, guys. I'm not even smoking pot, and I'm hacking shit up. But they, I don't believe that they got much of a chance. So Southeast Missouri. They beat them 75-71. That was a pretty decent team. They're also in the tournament. Southeast Missouri State, which I hadn't played in a while. So I guess that's their biggest win.
Yeah, I mean their average height is 6'3", which is
they're not the smallest team
undersized.
They're not the smallest team in the tournament, though.
Who is the smallest team, out of curiosity?
Fairleigh Dickinson.
Oh, okay.
Who just won their game.
Yep, they actually beat the fuck out of whoever they just played.
Oh, they hit like 11 threes, and so they play Purdue next. But the first round matchups, I just don't see how that. I just don't see how any of these first round matchups are going. I just don't see any way they could lose.
The biggest misconception people have with these 16 seeds is like everybody always freaks out because Virginia lost to UMBC a few years ago. And I mean, the ultimate problem with that, and I hate to say this, and as good as a coach as he is, Tony Bennett is a hell of a defensive-minded basketball coach, but his offensive mind in basketball is absolutely piss poor. And Virginia lost that game because they literally could not score, which is
That's the whole
why
problem.
I think they're an early exit in the tournament this year. They can't score the
Well,
ball.
I mean, it's a double-edged sword. So here's his philosophy offensively. The philosophy offensively is to hold the ball as long as possible and get one good shot, right? So if you don't make that shot on say you go 3 consecutive possessions where you don't make that shot, but the other team makes it once, and you repeat that cycle 3 or 4 times in a row, then you're down and you can't come back because they don't have the firepower to come back. In the NCAA tournament, it can work because most teams don't have the poise to play at. Right. And they're going to make mistakes. And that's what he's banking on, is you're going to make mistakes. But I just don't think it can work all the time. I mean, it won a national championship once, but you have to do things perfectly. It's just like football when you're trying to grind the clock all the time. So let's just say that I know I think I can get 4 yards every down. And I do that all game long, trying to run the clock out and stuff, which I kind of like a little bit. But let's say you do that. Sooner or later, you're going to make a mistake because you've had too many opportunities.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, he
that's
tries to basically muddy up the game and make the other team have turnovers where he can get cheap transition buckets and things like that, and just win some low-scoring 55-45 game.
That's what he wants.
I cannot stand basketball like that. I like to run and gun. I like the way Gonzaga plays. I like the way Alabama plays. I like running and gunning and getting it.
But I love that too. But I also love explosive stuff off of defense. But if you're going to do what he's doing, I agree with you that he offensively should do something different. I would at least run a motion offense, right? The offense that he runs doesn't really break anybody open. It doesn't really. So really, like I said, it's almost like each possession's a big struggle and nothing's really happening,
Yeah.
So.
All right.
So Alabama.
Landon, we did a bracketology the other night, and you weren't on there, but if you want to throw in your brackets real quick, we can get you on record.
Yeah, I will. What you want me to do?
Which do you got your age? Do you have anything handy that you have you filled out your brackets?
Yeah, my bracket's right here in front of me.
All right, I mean, we can condense it a little bit. Just tell us who's coming out of each of them.
Okay. So out of the, I guess what would it be? The South region. I have Alabama coming out of the region.
By the way, Madden picked Arizona to beat Alabama the other night.
It's not a bad pick. That's not a bad pick at all, because Arizona can shoot the mid-range shot, and the thing is with Alabama's defensive mind, how we play defense is we allow teams to shoot the mid-range. That's why you saw like Gonzaga throw up a fuck ton of points on us. Oklahoma had like the most unforeseen shooting day I've ever seen for a shitty ass basketball team. And all that. So like it's very possible that a really good jump shooting team like a Baylor or Arizona beats Alabama due to that reason.
I'm just the way I am is I've been watching this my whole life, and this is the best Alabama team I've ever seen.
Yeah,
there may have been one in the 70s that would rival it, but I didn't watch it. I was too young. But I'm just waiting for something to go wrong.
Yeah, so that region that's what I have. And I do have, though, Virginia losing to Furman first round. Furman's got 4 or 5 seniors on that team. They can really shoot the ball. And I could just totally see a Tony Bennett team going down to a team very similar to how Furman likes to play the game. Because, like I said, Virginia struggles to score. If they play a team that gets hot,
Where's Virginia seated?
They're a 4 seed.
Okay. So that's 4th. That is, what is that, 12 for Furman?
Furman would be a 13.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah, that'd be a big upset.
So yeah, I got that in that region. I mean, I'm not trying to be biased. I've tried to look at every reason not to pick Alabama. And the problem is that Alabama's a top 20 offensive efficiency team and a top 20 defensive efficiency team. And for the past however many years Ken Palm has existed, only twice into the Ken Palm era has a team won the national championship that's not been in the top 20 in both offensive and defensive efficiency. And that was 2014 UConn, who beat Kentucky in the Natty, as Robert remembers, and 2021 Baylor, when they beat Gonzaga. They were the only two teams in the Ken Palm era to not be in the top 20 in both categories to win a Natty. And so this year, there's only 4 teams in the top 20 in offensive and defensive efficiency. And those teams are Alabama, Texas, UConn, and Houston. So if the theory holds, one of those 4 teams will be your national champion. And I don't know which 4, but one of those 4 will be. So for those filling out your bracket, you want to pick a national champion, you're at great odds if you pick one of those 4 teams. So moving on, I guess, to the East region, East region's difficult for me. So I'm not a Purdue fan. I don't believe you can go to I'm not a believer in Purdue going to the Final Four, playing their way through a big man like Zach Edey. I don't see that. I don't see that in today's basketball, playing through a big and making it that far. I could see a team that's way more athletic, like a Memphis, putting them out early due to really good guard play by Kedrick Davis, who's like 26 years old, still playing basketball. Obviously, Kentucky's a huge dark horse, especially if Cason Wallace is healthy. But in the region of that region, I do have Marquette coming out. But I'm so skeptical of that because I love Shaka Smart, but I hate Shaka Smart because he always seems to kind of blow it in the tournament when it comes to making it like to a Final Four or something. As a matter of fact, I believe he was the coach at Texas when they lost to Abilene Christian like 2 years ago. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is that right, Robert?
Yeah, I believe that's right. He's had some tournament things. Now, I don't see Kentucky making it out of the first round, and here's why. The script is that Calipari is on the hot seat if he doesn't win this game. Well, Providence has Bryce Hopkins, who transferred from Kentucky last year, and he's been balling just like Johnny Juzang balled at UCLA and other players has balled after they left Calipari's clutches, right? So if Providence beats Kentucky, right, with Bryce Hopkins having a big game, it's going to look bad for Calipari and the national media or love it. So I think Providence is going to beat Kentucky.
Well, I'll tell you why I don't believe that. Providence this year they're 1-5 in games where they have been out rebounded. And my personal opinion with Oscar Tshiebwe and the length and the athleticism Kentucky has compared to Providence, I think Kentucky out rebounds Providence, and I think it's going to be by a good amount. And when they do that, I think Kentucky wins that game based off that stat alone.
Now, they should have beat Vanderbilt in the game they lost in the SEC tournament, but in the last 5 minutes of the game, for some reason, they wouldn't give the ball to Tshiebwe. The one dominant part that they had in the game, they wouldn't get him the ball. It reminded me of Tubby Smith and Jamal McGlure. It was killing me, right? And when you're against teams that can't stop a guy, you got to give that guy the ball. And that's the chance that's how Kentucky has to beat Providence. They have to have Tshiebwe take it to Bryce Hopkins, who he's obviously better than Bryce Hopkins. Or Bryce Hopkins would be playing at Kentucky, right? So you got to have him go at Bryce Hopkins, get him in foul trouble, dominate the boards. If Kentucky does that, they dominate the game easily. But they're like a team that's been smashed in the mouth. So in high school, like my high school came out quick, and I'm like, oh, we're going to do it. We're awesome, right? Then they smashed us in the mouth and beat us 46-7, right? And once Kentucky smashed in the mouth this year, they haven't responded.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm not disputing that. The Tennessee and Duke. Those are 2 interesting teams in that region for me because everybody's high on Duke because they won the ACC. But
if I'm not mistaken, Robert, didn't you say Tennessee was one of your dark horses?
Yeah, because of the style of play and the defense, right? That they've got a chance, especially in that bracket. Because I agree with Landon that Purdue won't come out of the. I don't believe Purdue can come out of that bracket. Because their guard play and their style of play, somebody's going to run them out of the water. It's probably going to be it's probably going to be Duke or Tennessee or Memphis. And I just don't see them coming out of it. And then Kansas State is a tough team. They're not quite in the top 20 in offensive and defensive efficiency, but their defensive efficiency is top 30, and their offense is good enough. Kansas State's a dark horse in that bracket that nobody's really talking about. It's got tough defenses, it's tested. I just believe that Purdue, the Big Ten, is down, and it's another paper tiger coming out of the Big Ten.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. I think the Big 12 is strong as well. So Kansas State, I mean, they've been battle tested this year, so it wouldn't shock me at all. But Tennessee, my problem with Tennessee is I don't trust Rick Barnes. I think Rick Barnes to me is one of the most overrated head coaches in college basketball. I don't like his style of play on neutral courts. I think his style of play works great when he's a home court advantage. But when he's in a neutral court or he's on the road, if he can't muddy up the game and play defense and do that the way that he likes to have Tennessee play, getting a little more handsy and like that, in neutral courts, and then also them losing Zakai Ziegler at guard. I mean, their guard offense is Vescovi, and
that's what I was going to say.
That,
I don't think they have the guard play to win the tournament. I think they can make noise in it, but I don't think they have the guard play to make tournament. And I agree with you. I don't think Barnes is good at making adjustments, right? And especially away from home, he needs the comfort level of his defense. Obviously, ruling the game. They don't really make a lot of offensive adjustments, and most of their points, in my opinion, come off turnovers, especially with that guy gone. And I mean, they just even him wasn't as good as some of the point guards that's been there lately, like Bone. And they weren't getting it to the hole a whole lot anyway. They weren't causing a whole lot of open shots. They weren't creating a whole lot of stuff for people on the outside. So I don't think it's going to help them any when your main guy goes down,
Oh yeah, I agree, and I think a dark horse though out of there is Memphis, in my honest opinion.
Memphis runs guns. We enjoy watching that. Nick and win. They're a little bit like they're almost Patino like in their style, which I love, obviously. And they so I'd like to see them beat Purdue. I think Purdue is just they're a paper tiger. They're gonna not make it. And then Duke has played better than I hate Duke, but I got to give them credit that they did gel at the end of the year and they looked great in a down ACC. Right.
Yeah, and they have the talent on paper. I mean, they just finished with the #1 recruiting class and have 4 or 5 stars just on their roster. And Phil Bukowski, that's at center. I mean, he's a hell of a player. I mean, so none of it would shock me if Duke came out, especially if someone like Louisiana upsetted Tennessee first round, because Tennessee, the way Rick Barnes plays, they are a prime candidate for an upset that like you wouldn't think. But hell, Tennessee I think is like 4th in the country in defensive efficiency according to Ken Palm. So it's the South. That East region though is a very interesting region. Now, if you flip on over to the West region, that's a gauntlet. Kansas got absolutely shafted by getting that region. That region is a freaking – that region's insane. They got Arkansas is an 8 seed, and Arkansas has like the most draft-eligible players this year in college basketball, I saw. They have 5 guys on the team that are projected to go to the NBA draft. That's the most in basketball, and they're an 8 seed.
Yeah, I think they're going to be tough if they actually get it together, but they haven't been consistent and they didn't gel well. But when they have played well, they've played real well, But when Texas A&M come back on them after being down huge, I didn't think that they had heart. They don't really got grit, but they can beat anybody in the bracket. But do they have the grit to do it? Is what my question is.
Yeah. I mean, then obviously you got UConn, St. Mary's, Gonzaga.
Oh, hi. I'm Clemson Bean, and this is Smacking Off, the podcast.
It's like cocaine or something. I don't know. These motherfuckers just talk about college sports, specifically college football, and man, let me tell you, it's a hoot.
Watch what you love for less with Roku. Follow our affiliate link at smackology.42web.io for the best deals on Roku and many other great products.
I think Iona is better than you may think, right?
Oh yeah, Rick
And
Pitino, you can never count him out.
like the style of it, like you said, the run and gun, the pressure defense, they'll have good guards because that's a characteristic of his program. But UConn uh, plays in a conference which does all that stuff too, and they've got great guards. They got really good guards. So I don't believe I
We
don't
played
know.
UConn earlier this year, man. I mean, dude, freaking Sonogo's a badass center. I mean, he's nasty.
Oh, he's tough.
He's a matchup nightmare, and they're long. Hurley plays a similar style of ball to Oates at Alabama. I mean, they're tough, and that's who actually I have coming out of that region. I have UConn going to the Final Four.
Now let's
I've
go back
watched
to
them all year, and
yeah.
when Alabama played them, I said it then, and I'll say it now. I think UConn's one of the top 4 basketball teams in the country, regardless of what the rankings say.
Yeah, I was on UConn early in the year. If we was able to somehow go back in time and do the podcast, I was on UConn earlier in the year, and I had them in Houston, Alabama, and Kansas as my Final Four in like our initial weeks of this, right?
Yeah,
and but the way the brackets works out, there's no way that UConn and Kansas could be in the Final Four. One of them is going down, right? UConn's a complete team and they're well tested, but Kansas is loaded as well, and they're balanced all over. I mean, they're going to have a hard road of it, but Illinois is pretty damn good, actually.
I don't know.
They're
Like
tough
I said,
anyway.
that bracket's freaking hard. I'm so happy I'm not in that bracket. Very happy.
Now, Nikki Mays thinks TCU's going to win the bracket.
Really? See,
Yeah.
TCU's got a lot of turmoil going on within the program right now. They got some player has claimed that the coach is racist or some shit like that going on, and they got a whole bunch of friction going on. So I could see them honestly losing first round to the winner of the game tonight, Arizona State, Nevada. I really could.
Yeah, I can see that too. If it's like all that, then that game's on right now. If I was in the house, I'd be watching it, but it was too noisy. I should have turned the stereo off. So I come out here. I'm actually following it live. Like I get the score every few minutes updated here on Google.
Mm-hmm.
And but Arkansas is interesting to me. And for something you just said a second ago. So they got 5 guys getting ready to go to the NBA, and Alabama recruited well, right? And there's probably 3 guys on that team that'll for sure play in the NBA as it is right now. And so you got one coach, you got 2 coaches that had similar recruiting success over the last couple of years. And who's done what with it? Oates has done something with it, and Musselman really hasn't done much with it this year. I think he got
the way Musselman plays offense. He doesn't let his players go play and shoot threes and have fun and shit like that. He tries to play basketball like we're in the 80s again. He tries to be free throw line centric, and guess what? When he gets to the line, they can't make free throws either. That's why Arkansas is one of the worst free throw shooting teams this year. They're like a 60-something% free throw shooting team. It's terrible.
See, that's the difference between them and Texas A&M. Texas A&M is trying to do the same thing, only they're making their free throws
from the line. Exeter's automatic from the line. They're Wade Taylor and Boots Radford are 2 very good guards that can take them far in the tournament. I don't like Gonzaga in that bracket going far because I don't trust Gonzaga's defense. They play very good offense. Gonzaga does, but their defense is just if their offense isn't hitting, you're gonna beat Gonzaga. UCLA, I would have had them coming out of that bracket, but when they lost Clark, one of their best defender for the year, which is ultimately why they lost to Arizona in the Pac-12 championship, I've kind of wrote them off.
They was probably hoping for a UCLA Gonzaga matchup on down the road here, and they it would have been good television, especially out west. It would have been great for ratings for the tournament out west, and Western basketball gets short shift a lot, but they got guys that can play out there too. Just nobody's watching it on TV, right? And they so because everybody's asleep by the time it comes out. But if you look at the West, they is appropriately seated. I mean, you've got St. Mary's, Gonzaga, Grand Canyon, UCLA, all in the same bracket. That's good television, man. You got to give the NCAA tournament committee credit for creating controversy in the bracket, like Kentucky playing Providence and so forth. So, but I'd like to see somebody other. Kansas won it last year. I'm not a huge fan. Bill Self got away with cheating. It's hard for me to root for him, but I don't know. I don't. Other than UConn, I don't see who can beat them.
Yeah. Up top of the bracket, let's see. I think I got one I got Texas, and the other one I got Houston coming out in that side of the bracket. Obviously Kelvin Sampson, hell of a head coach. Houston, I mean, super physical, super tough. Another team, top 20 in offensive and defensive efficiency. I mean, the only key with them is like, what's the health of Marcus Sasser at guard going to be like? I know he had a groin deal and he couldn't even play against Memphis which is ultimately probably why they lost that game. Let's see. Also, I got Auburn actually winning in Birmingham. Shocker. I mean, they basically get gifted a home game against Iowa. So
nice.
I do have Auburn. And also, I mean, I know Alabama fans hate him. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of him per se, but I say I'm not a big fan. That's actually wrong because of considering what I'm about to say. But I actually think Bruce Pearl is a very good basketball coach, and I actually kind of like Bruce Pearl. I know I should hate him because he coaches at Auburn, but I actually do like Bruce Pearl.
I believe he's a great coach as well.
I think he does a good job, and especially, and I think he gets a lot out of his roster. And his roster to me this year is not that good. As a matter of fact, it's actually kind of ass.
Well, I was going to say, so can Bruce Pearl have the same success in a world where anybody can pay players?
Yeah, for real. That's a valid point. Let's see. I do have 8 for Penn State, which I see as an interesting game.
Oh, Penn State's a good team this year. I think they're underrated.
They're a good team. They're a good team. I'm simply taking that because I think Buzz Williams is going to get them rebounded after that SEC championship, and I think Wade Taylor and Tyrese Radford are 2 really good guards, and ultimately that's what wins in March Madness is guard play. Obviously Penn State's got them too. I mean, Penn State's got good guards.
If they're going to play possession basketball, I think A&M wins it though. Yeah.
Now, my 12-5 upset that I have is going to be Drake over Miami. If you look at that spread's only about 2 points Miami, which tells you they're basically almost seeing a pick 'em at this point. And Drake is not a bad team at all. I mean, they really aren't. I mean, they beat Mississippi State this year.
Their conference is pretty good. They've played a lot of good games, and I think they might have played Marquette. I think they used to play Marquette every year, and they Bradley. But I think pretty tough schedule. They might have played Creighton. I'm almost sure they played Creighton.
Bob, help me out a little bit. Was it Alex Bryan the other night that was high on Miami?
Yeah, he was high on Miami, and I never really got why he was high on them, but. Drake, it looks like the bracket is shaping up for 2 Iowa teams to play each other, Iowa and Drake, right? That'd be possible. I mean, that'd be the most boring game in history, but it'd be. But
I mean, he didn't have Miami coming out of the bracket, but he was definitely. It sounded like he might. It sounded like he might go that direction, and he just never really would pull the trigger.
They got good coaching, and they look pretty tough overall. But I don't know. I'm just not excited about them. They just don't turn me on. I mean, it's like Indiana. I think they're relatively inconsistent. The conference wasn't that good. Same thing with Miami and the ACC. Now you could say them team each other up like the old NFC East, but. I don't know. I watched a lot of ACC basketball this year, and I just didn't think they was that good, And but they had a few stars, like you said, at Duke, and but Miami's dudes grind. They got good coaching there. They play good defense. But I'm looking at the other teams in the bracket. I think Xavier's better. I think A&M is better. Iowa State, in my opinion, is better. Even though some of those are different lower seeds. Texas, talent-wise, is significantly better. I think a team like Iowa, if they get to Miami, that Iowa could grind it out and make it an ugly game. And they're relative to me. Iowa, Miami's relatively even.
Yeah, the Indiana's got a chance to go far, in my opinion, because obviously they have the talent with Schifano. Jalen Schifano is a freaking bucket. And they got another guy on their team. I'm losing my train of thought on his name at the moment. Tyrese Jackson Davis. Him and Jalen Hood Schifano. I mean, they're both absolutely just really good players. Obviously going to be NBA guys. So I mean, they have the talent to go. But I'm gonna tell you something. Indiana's playing a Kent State team who, like, they're undersized, but man, they can shoot. I mean, they could honestly beat Indiana. Kent State could. I'm not bullshitting you.
I was seeing a preview last night. I don't know what kind of sports channel, so I just woke up. Like, you ever fall asleep on the couch, you wake up in the middle of the night and some shit is on, right? It's on Mac basketball somehow. It must have been local sports channel or something, or whatever. The Thunder and Herd Marshall's on, or they're not in the Mac no more. But and they was talking about it, and they just kept showing one dude but hitting threes after another, right? A little short guy, was just burning people up from like 25 feet. I'm like, my God, man.
That's Sincere Carey is his name. Almost sounds like Stephen Curry, but yeah, Sincere Carey.
It was unbelievable, man. I mean, he could be at a full run and go and do a stop and pop from 25 feet. It was unbelievable, man. You know how hard it is to do a stop and pop from full speed, let alone from three. I thought it was a big deal when I played ball back in the day to like beat the guard on the beat the guard at the top of the key and get into the lane and do a little stop and pop. Right? This dude is doing it from 25, 30 feet, man.
Oh,
And
no.
his guy's falling down like an idiot when he does it.
Yeah, but ultimately, like I said, I have Houston or Texas coming out of that. I mean, one of the two. But yeah, I mean, and then cutting down the nets. I mean, I have Alabama in one bracket, and I think the other bracket, I think I have UConn. But yeah, I mean, Alabama's got a really good draw. I think. I'm more worried about our game with a potential West Virginia matchup in round 2, as opposed to I am in a Sweet 16 matchup with San Diego State or even a Virginia.
Hey, Landon, that sounds a lot like Dr. Balls himself talking the other night.
Yeah, that's because I believe in Bob Huggins' ability to make a game ugly, right? And that Alabama hasn't done well in ugly games, even though they pulled it out against Houston, right? But in ugly games, sometimes the freshmen look like freshmen. But it's later in the year now, and they've been playing all year long. I don't think they're freshmen anymore. I think Miller has matured, and he's shown a lot of poise considering all the heartache he's been heaped on him. So I don't know, but West Virginia is the kind of team, right, that you don't want to face off the bat because Huggins' ability to make a game ugly is a big deal. And if they revert to the freshman form that they've showed a couple times, but see, they did that and won at Houston, is why I believe in Alabama all year.
And Brandon Miller didn't make a field goal, and we won at Houston.
Right, because of the fact that they met ugliness with ugliness and endured, and now they're not really freshmen no more. I mean, they've played a whole season, but West Virginia is sneaky. They play ugly basketball by form on purpose, and they want to expose you on defense because their offense is just a lot of trying to swing it to one side and stuff like that. And Alabama has so much quickness. I don't believe that West Virginia that can score against them. Maryland's a good team, but West Virginia's, people complain because they got in the tournament with 18, 19 wins, but they had a tough road this season. They played anybody who wanted it, and the games they lost were against tough teams, and they won games against tough teams. So I think the Alabama West Virginia game is going to be the best game of the second round, in my opinion.
Yeah, honestly, I will be in Birmingham tomorrow watching the West Virginia Maryland game and then Alabama's game against Corpus Christi. But I'm a Maryland fan. I'm pulling for Maryland. I would rather play Maryland than I would West Virginia, if I'm being honest. Robert, does Huggins still run the full court press, or did he get away from that?
He didn't get away from it, but I don't think he's doing it as much. And there's a lot of traps, a lot of corner traps and stuff like that. He'll rotate the corner traps and he'll stuff like that. And then it all depends on the depth, right? And this year they've had guys in and out. And when he's had depth, he pressed. When he didn't, then he picked and chose when to do it.
Yeah, I mean West Virginia reminds me a lot like a Mississippi State, but they score the ball a little bit better.
Yeah. And
Landon, did you pick for all the regions?
Yeah,
Yes,
I
believe
did. So
you.
basically, my Final Four is Alabama, Marquette, Texas/Houston, and then UConn, and then I have Alabama winning the title over UConn, and then I have UConn winning the title over Alabama in another one. It's basically kind of what I got.
You hedged your bets.
Where's
So, I don't know.
He just posted a video of his daughter dancing to Dancing Queen, which is an all-time great song, by the way.
I don't know. He didn't respond. So, when did he post that earlier?
I don't know.
Who's this?
Shannon.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know. He was on the other night. He's hit and miss in the middle of the week like this.
He's a hard-working man. I mean, this is important.
But anyway, so y'all were talking about the second round. What's the games to watch tomorrow?
I would say, in my personal opinion, I would say Maryland, West Virginia, definitely first game of the day, 11:15. I think that Missouri Utah State game is going to be a very good game.
I do too. I think that's going to be a good one.
By the way, I think we watched Maryland come in today. We were on interstate and they had a police escort.
Yeah,
they brought a bus in, and I believe it said I believe it did have a Terrapins logo on it.
I would say Arkansas, Illinois in the afternoon is going to be a one you want to watch. And then at night, I would go with A&M and Penn State.
I think Kentucky and Providence is going to be a good game. It's in the
for Friday.
Yes, that's their first round game. Oh yeah, he said tomorrow. So,
yeah, well, first round is what I meant.
So I think we should watch that one because there's a lot of storylines there. And people, if we lose in the first round again, the NCAA tournament, I mean, there's people be calling for Calipari's head. This is like a $56 million problem. You know what I'm saying? And they, and especially if they lose to a guy that transferred from the program that didn't do nothing here, all of a sudden he's turned Johnny Juzang on us and scored 40 points the other night. So it'll look real bad for Kentucky. So I think there's going to be a lot of tension on that game. I can't wait to see it because the way I feel about it is this, right? That Tubby Smith was successful even though he couldn't recruit. And in my opinion, more successful overall than Calipari, except for the amount of dudes he put in the NBA. So they ran Tubby Smith off while he was still having success, even though he caught some bad breaks. I mean, Keith Bogans had to guard Dwayne Wade in the Final Four on a broken ankle. You understand what I'm saying? Or UK would have won the championship in 2003.
Hello, this is viral TikTok King and Justin Brindley. You're watching Smacking Off the Podcast with Doug and Shannon.
Support Smacking Off the Podcast by patronizing our affiliates' products. Go to our website at smackology.42web.io and click the affiliates link. There you will find a host of great deals to stretch your dollar to its fullest.
Great products like Showtime, Shark Vacuums, Dish Network, Vidgo, Hulu, NFL Plus, and GameStop. The list goes on. Remember, smackology.42web.io and remember to click the affiliates link for these products and many more.
All right, we've got 4 number ones going up against 16 seeds for the next 2 days. What's the biggest chance that we've got of a fucking what the fuck just happened moment?
I think Vermont beating Marquette.
Yeah, that's
Vermont beating Marquette is a possibility. And the reason I tell you that is because that's a 2:15 game, and I'm almost fairly certain. Yeah, Marquette's only like a 9-point favorite, 10-point favorite in that game, and Marquette and Purdue. I think it was Marquette and Purdue. I think. Hold on just a second. Let me fact check this because I'm pretty sure I saw this and this is quite interesting. I may have Purdue wrong. So it's yeah. So in the 64 team era, there have only been 36 teams to enter the tournament as a 1 or 2 seed that weren't ranked in the preseason AP poll. They have a combined 0 Final Fours, averaging fewer than 2 wins per tournament. And those 2 teams this year are Purdue and Marquette. Basically, what that's saying is if history repeats itself, Purdue and Marquette were not in the preseason AP poll. Basically, what that's saying is that they're projected to only win 2 or fewer games.
That's interesting. I like that. That's deep. That's a deep dive there. And they, people's got a lot of respect for Marquette because they won the Big East. But my opinion, the Big East was a little bit down because of the fact that Jay Wright retired at Villanova. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So
I thought the Big East was the second best conference this year, if I was being honest. I thought Big 12 was 1, Big East 2, SEC 3, if I'm being 100% honest.
I would have put the SEC this year over them, but I think the top teams other than Alabama are probably better than the Big East outside of Alabama. So it kind of like in football this year, Alabama kind of dragged the rest of the conference with it,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is Alabama going to do it and everything? Next thing you know, they're going to win the baseball national championship. They can take that from Vandy anyway. It's giving them all kinds of crazy ideas.
Shit, dude. We're
eyeing water polo. Water polo next.
Water polo next. Hell yeah, dominate.
I don't even watch college baseball. Everybody's like all up in arms because Alabama won in college Alabama's won in college baseball, and I'm like, dude, we've played nobody. Like, y'all, please stop trying to act like Alabama's good in baseball this year. We're not that good. We just haven't.
You know what? I got to go watch I got to go watch Frozen Eyes at some point. Sorry, Frozen Tide.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Are they still doing that in Pelham?
I have no idea.
They were playing in Pelham.
You talk about club hockey?
Absolutely.
Yeah, they got that in the UK too.
But they've moved into whatever the conference is. It's not the SEC, obviously.
Yeah, see, a lot of people don't know it, but there's an ice rink underneath the court at Rupp Arena.
I'll be dead.
They had the third
right. Yep, I've been there. I stayed at the hotel that's next door. I think it's the Hyatt or the Hilton next door to the
Hyatt Regency.
Yeah. They say if you want to, I mean, really seriously, they get like $6 or $7 a ticket down in Pelham for these games, and they say they're entertaining as shit.
Hell yeah, that's why you watch.
I haven't gone down there, but the prize sounds good, man.
I will say this though, for the tournament, I think it's absolutely a travesty. Memphis and Florida Atlantic have to play each other because both Memphis and Florida Atlantic had really good seasons, especially Florida Atlantic for being the school that they are. So, like, I low key wish Memphis would be playing like Iowa and Auburn would be playing Florida Atlantic, or vice versa. Maybe, or Arkansas playing Memphis and Illinois.
To give both of them a chance to advance.
Yeah, like, I really hate that they both have to play each other. Like, someone has to lose because I think both of those teams this year had a hell of a year, and I think it's a travesty that one's got to get knocked out in the first round because both of those teams I could have really have seen making like a Sweet 16 run.
Yeah, I can see that. FAU is underrated. They're not giving them any respect, and and the same thing on Memphis, really, if you look at it. So it's what it is. So whoever wins out of that will have been tested and be strong. And if it goes like you say, Memphis probably will beat Purdue. Then after that, there's really nobody else in the bracket that's clearly better than them, other than maybe Kansas State,
Yeah.
So that could be an interesting. That could be everybody loves Cinderella runs, but as your statistics show, it's rare where they actually come to fruition. They get close. I mean, there's a lot of Sweet 16 and Elite 8 moments and stuff, but when it gets
the odds makers claim that, like, I think, let's see, number 1 seeds, when they play 8 seeds the next round, the number 1 seeds have won 78% of the time. And when they play a 9 seed, number 1 seeds against 9 seeds, number 1 seeds have won 92% of the time.
Yeah.
So basically what I'm saying is if Alabama plays West Virginia as a 9 seed, basically if the odds are in our favor. I mean, number 1 seeds are 70-6 against 9 seeds.
We like that. Now another another potential second round matchup that I think is going to be great entertainment no matter what happens. Be probably Creighton versus Baylor.
Oh, I agree with that.
If you love basketball, you'll want to see that game. And so,
and a shout out to Sean Devine and his Creighton. What are they called?
Jays. Creighton
Jays.
Jays. Me and Sean talk all the time about them. Yeah, Creighton's a good team. I've told Sean this. I mean, the Big East. I mean, when you're in Big East country, I mean, and you're born and you say wham. I mean, you have two choices. You're either going to be thrown in a hockey arena or a basketball gymnasium. It's because it's too damn cold to play football, and it's too damn cold to do anything else outside. So you have to either say I'm a hockey player or a basketball player. And those kids are grown up playing that Big East style of basketball, and they're fundamentally sound. They know what the fuck to do. They're smart kids. I mean, they're grinded out. They play tough. Nothing scares them. They're not prima donnas. I mean, they just go and play tough, hard-nosed basketball. So a Big East team is like, I mean, I don't want to see Creighton at all. If I had to see Creighton and possibly be like the Elite Eight or something like that, I mean. So, but like them playing Baylor, see, Baylor's got the talent to beat anybody. But for whatever reason this year, Baylor has like taken a step back. And obviously Scott Drew's a hell of a coach. But this year, I think it's their defense personally, but they have taken a step back. So, like, honestly, I could see Creighton beating Baylor, to be quite honest with you. But Creighton's first matchup against NC State's got two guards, Jarkel Joyner that transferred from Ole Miss, and then the other guard they have, Traquavion Smith. Dude, both of those guards are absolutely nasty. They can get hot as hell. So, but I think I trust Creighton and McDermott to have a really good plan and get them over the hump on that. So, I do have Creighton winning that.
Now it's possible that 3 Iowa teams could advance forward to the tournament, which would be a big deal for the state of Iowa. So you'd have Drake, Iowa, and Creighton can advance, and that would be great for the state of Iowa. But who would have get Iowa basketball, right? I was working on the road years ago, and I was in this. What was the name of that town? I don't know. There was one hill in town, and some TV star was from there, and that was what the hotel was about. Anyway, and I was trying to find a place to play basketball. They didn't have a city park with a hoop. I'm like, how are you getting this done, man?
I was actually shocked when I looked this up. I did not know that Creighton had never made a Final Four nor won the NCAA title.
Well, I knew they hadn't won the title. I
didn't know they didn't make a Final Four because Creighton's the history of Creighton basketball. They've always been respectably very good in basketball. So I figured they at least had made a Final Four. But obviously they haven't.
Alabama may beat them to the Final Four this year.
Very, very well could have.
As two teams that have never made the Final Four.
That'd be awesome, wouldn't it? I'd love to see Alabama win it. Right, stick it in the eye of the rest of the SEC, especially.
And no, don't fuck it. Don't fuck with me, Bob. You're trying to piss off Kentucky.
Oh yeah, I'd love to piss off the fans so they could get rid of
Kentucky to see this and shit and say, okay, hold up.
I want to. All the shit that they put Brandon Miller through, my God.
Oh yeah,
that shit's been blown out of proportion so bad due to poor journalism. I mean, it's been awful.
I mean, there's gravity to it though because the word murder is involved. That's the whole deal.
Oh
right?
Sure.
So people's trying to hate can use the gravity of that right in order so their argument seems like an argument when there's really
if you listen to some people about it, you would have thought Brandon Miller instigated or premeditated the murder.
People are scared to fucking death of guns.
I mean,
it's like anything mentioning a gun, everybody involved, they're all guilty.
Oh my Lord, it's been ridiculous. Like, what's so funny here in Tuscaloosa, when this all happened in January, I knew Brandon Miller was involved. I knew everything about it, but it didn't come out until they had the court hearing in February. I knew it. I knew everything. But the problem is, Darius Miles and the other guy, his piece of shit friend, they were arrested and charged and all that good shit. And Brandon Miller had dash cam evidence. He overturned his cell phone, everything. So like he couldn't lie. They had everything right there.
Yep,
But
he cooperated.
They have absolutely blown that shit so far out of proportion. I mean, you would think there's not 2 people sitting in jail right now charged with murder.
Yeah. So the fact that he cooperated was a big deal. That's what he had to do. And them other guys are now ratting each other.
Yeah, I mean, it's been completely blown out of proportion. I mean, I won't even get into it because like it's like people have their minds made up and you're arguing with a brick wall.
Yeah, absolutely,
I mean,
absolutely. They're not interested in detail at all.
Nope. All they read is ESPN headline: Brandon Miller delivers weapon that leads to murder, and then they run with it. That's all they cared about.
You said it all when you said ESPN because they have an agenda. They have a woke agenda and that don't fit their woke agenda, right? Yeah. So they're going to push that as hard as they can.
All right. Yeah. So we've discussed it all, right?
I think so.
Well, I think Dane joined the room. Let's shout out to Dane since he joined the room.
Was he in the room?
It says Dane joined the room.
Are you talking to him on Podbean?
Yeah, I'm on Podbean right now, right?
All right. So fuck you, Dane. You didn't show up last time we had you on, motherfucker.
Bye, Dane. Go to church. Go tell Dabo Sweeney John 3:16 and come suck my fucking nuts. See ya.